Hey everyone, so it's Hearth and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about different waters and how you can use them in your magical practice. So this is all a follow-on from my water element video that I did a couple of weeks ago. Now, this video is going to be all about the different types of water that you can make and that you can collect and how they can be used within your magical practice. Now, not everyone is going to be able to collect all of these types of water. Some of them are very specific and can't just be made. But this could be really helpful if you do connect with the water element and you do use water magic very regularly in your practice, so you can really make the most of the energies of all of the waters that you might have access to. Now, most of these associations actually come from the way the water is, how clean it is, where it came from, what it looks like, and you'll likely find that a lot of these associations are almost natural instincts that maybe you just hadn't thought of before. So the first are from creeks and streams. Now, these are typically very high up in the water system, and so often they are very clean and clear. They haven't spent a lot of time in the air yet, and so they are associated with purification, cleansing, and harmony. Now, next is dew. Now, dew is quite unusual. It's quite hard to find in large quantities. You're going to have to use it very sparingly. But if you do manage to go out into a meadow or into your garden in the early hours of a spring morning, you will likely find dew everywhere. Now, dew has commonly been connected with the fae for a very long time. It's also been very closely connected to beauty and freshness. It's something that only exists temporarily. It's very fleeting, usually in the early hours of the morning. So it's used for health, beauty, eyesight, especially if it's gathered in the early morning of Beltane. Now, of course, Beltane this year has already gone, but hopefully in the future, if you are interested in using dew in your Beltane workings, you will be able to put this forward to the following years. Now, next is fog and mist. Now, fog and mist are commonly used for balance, partnership, and creativity. Now, I personally also use fog and mist for insight workings. It's all about looking internally. Now, of course, you're not really going to be able to gather fog necessarily, but if you do go out and you do a lot of workings out and about, and you happen to end up in a space where you can do a working in this kind of environment, it's really good for inward thinking. It's all about viewing yourself and the things that you can change. So it is really good for creativity. It's also really good for self-growth and insight and change within yourself. Now, ice is a really common thing that people will work with in their magic because it is almost the definition of a transformative item, and so people will use it for exactly that. They'll use it for transformational workings. They'll also use it for releasing workings. So whereas a freezer spell is used to bind someone's actions, it's designed to stop them, hold them in place. If you use ice and you allow it to thaw out, it's often a releasing working, whether that's releasing a situation or releasing a person from the binds that hold them. It can be a really almost therapeutic form of working to do if you do want to let go of things and just let them melt away into nothing. So it's really good for personal release, emotional release, similar workings like that. Now, next is pond and lake water. So they can be used separately, but a lot of people will lump them together. Now, pond and lake water is often used for peace, self-reflection, relaxation, and contentment. It's very still. There isn't the same amount of movement that there would be in a river or in a stream or in the ocean. So a lot of people will find them very contemplative, quiet places where you can really think and bring insight to it. So a lot of people will use water from these areas for that exact same reason. Now, it can also be used to bring steadiness and slowness to a situation. So if you feel as though everything is going too quick, you can be using this kind of water to bring a stillness to the situation. So next we have rainwater, probably one of the most popular that people use. Now, rainwater is commonly used for energy, protection, and cleansing. Now, I definitely would suggest having a shallow dish if you want to collect rainwater. It's very difficult to collect it in anything other than a shallow bowl. It tends to bounce. Tends to bounce out or not bounce in. So a shallow bowl is generally recommended. Now, you don't need much rainwater to work with it, not at all. So just a little bit in the bottom can be really good. And it is good for that kind of protection, cleansing energy. Now the next is seawater or ocean water. Now I personally use ocean water a lot for cleansing because of its salt content. I find it really useful for that. But people use it for magical power, and honestly I can see why. The ocean has so much power, so much strength, that people will draw on that in their magical workings to really give a boost to their magic. So if you're feeling a little bit low, it could be good adding some seawater into that working to really give it a kick if you wanted to. Now next is snow. Now snow is very similar in technique to ice, but it isn't often used for these releasing workings. That's mainly with things like ice cubes, ice blocks. When it comes to snow, it's all about quiet, calm, and also transformation, because once again, it is a transformational item. Now next is spring water. Now spring water is held in very high regard when it comes to magical practice because it is considered one of the purest forms of water that you can find. Now it's often used for growth, prosperity, cleansing, protection, and by some people it's used as a form of holy water. Now it can be blessed to become literal holy water as is found within the Christian faith, or it can become just sacred water to practitioners and pagans alike within their magical practices and within their religious practices as well. Now next is swamp water. Now swamp water is commonly considered to be very binding. It's very banishing, very binding. It's able to keep people steadfast. It's able to lock them in place, or it's able to lock situations in place, but it's also considered to be somewhere that you're not going to want to stay in for very long. So it's really irritating to people. So it's really good for getting people out of your life, to bind their bad behavior and then kick them straight out. So it's actually really, really useful for that. If anything, I kind of wish there were swamps where I live, but there aren't. But if any of you have any swamps around and you do any binding, banishing workings, you can always try including some water magic in there as well. Give it a little something something, you know, a little bit of a kick up the ass to get someone or something out of your life. So next are waterfalls. Now waterfalls, because of their power, are really good for energy. So a lot of people will draw a lot of energy from waterfalls. It's also really good for success workings. It's all about that build up of that energy into that massive release at the bottom. So everything about it just screams power and energy and success. And I would love to use waterfall workings in prosperity workings. Imagine using waterfall magic in an interview spell. That would be really interesting. I would love to see how that one turned out. Now next we have well water. Now you know that well water is probably one of my favorites. I always go to the Chalice Well in Glastonbury or the White Well, and well water is very commonly used for healing spells, but also wishes and intuition. Everyone knows of flicking a coin into a wishing well to gain wishes from the spirits that reside within it. So that's really good for wishing workings, healing workings, blessing workings as well. Then you have harbours. Now harbours are often places where catch is brought in. So they're really prevalent for abundance spells. They're also really good for prosperity and banishing workings as well, because it's about that coming and going. You can draw in if you wanted to, but you can also get rid of. So it's a really versatile one. So if you do live by the coast, harbour water can be really, really good for that. Next we have beaches. Now beaches are an in-between. They're a location that's really good for working with spirits. So if you are on a beach and if you have the chance to work with tide water, so any water that's stuck in tidal pools is really, really good for this. It's good for meditations, spells, rituals, spirit work. It's about connecting to the in-between, between water and land. So it's really good for working with fae, especially water fae, as well as just spiritual beings in general. It's about that border, that crossing. And then we have riverbanks. Now riverbanks are really good for increasing personal power. It's all about that energy rushing past you all of the time, a constant stream of it. Now the last few I have are ones that you can create. So we have moon water. Moon water is designed to connect with the energy of the moon phases. You can create moon water in any moon phase. If you want to know more information about moon water and how to use it, I will link it down in the description box, and I will stick it up here as well for anyone that's interested. It's designed to allow you to tap into the energy of that particular moon phase, even if that moon phase has already gone by, and work with it in your workings. Solar water is water that has been charged with the energy of the sun. It can be made on certain days and certain events. So a lot of people will make their sun water on Letha because it is the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. And they will then use it to work with solar energy and solar magic within their workings. The other is probably my personal favorite, and that is thunder water, thunder and lightning water. Now this one is intense. See, for me, electrics go crazy. I'm really bad with electronics, I break almost everything, and lightning and thunderstorms are my favourite times of existence. So I often charge water during a thunder and lightning ning storm, and then I will work with that in my workings. Now it gives me a headache. It is so intense, it's so powerful, it's really strong. So please take care if you are as connected to electronics and electric as I am. It is very intense, but boy is that like a kick up the ass. If you need personal power, thunder and lightning water is the way to go. So I hope that you found this useful for you. If you did, feel free to give me a like. That really means so much to me. I would love to know what your favorite kind of water is and what do you use it for? Is there one that you use more than all of the others? Do you use multiples? Feel free to let me know down in the comment section below. I always stay in the comment section for ages, checking out everyone's comments. If you do have any questions, comments, concerns, video ideas, or just want to chit chat with the community down in the comment section, feel free to post a comment. And if you do enjoy the magical content on this channel in this video, feel free to hit subscribe. I do try my best to post magical content every Wednesday and every Saturday at 6 p.m. So I hope you guys have a marvelous magical day. A massive thank you to all of my Patreons. You will be on the end screen in just a moment. I hope you are all staying safe and well, and I will see you in the next video.